Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Sorry for the hiatus, but we're back in full force. In fact, I have a really cool announcement, and I'm going to be launching a new show. And it'll be a talk show format where we have luminaries from the NBA blogosphere and writers who come on and weigh in on the subject of that day. It's going to be really great. It'll be very high-minded and intelligent, but also back and forth while we crack wise. So stay tuned. I'll have lots more information because that's coming up very, very soon. And you can tell that the first one's going to be about the lockout. Well, for today, I want to go through the 1975 Western Conference Game 7, where the Bulls, the Bulls, who were in the Western Conference back then, had to go up against the Warriors. And this was the first really good Bulls team with Jerry Sloan and Norm Van Lier and guys like that. So this was when I was growing up. We used to hear about this team, but I'd never really seen them play until this game finally came on. So it's with great pleasure that I can show you some of the great, probably long forgotten players from back then and the style of play which they did, which was really exciting stuff. So here it comes, stay tuned, and don't forget, don't miss our new show coming up with more details to follow. Let's start by checking out those warm-ups. I don't think an NBA team had a funkier set than the Bulls did back then. John Wooden and UCLA had just finished their long run through all those years of NCAA tournaments, and every NBA team ran some form of the UCLA high post. There's the UCLA cut by the guard, and that clears out for Rick Barry to get hammered by Boerwinkle. And don't forget Tex Winter's influence back then. Here is the classic triangle where the ball goes to the corner, the guy cuts through, and they set a screen and roll out of that. And that's Butch Beard taking the shot, a really tough player back then. Dick Motta was the Bulls coach, and he ran a two-guard front as well. You can see Sloan and Norm Van Lier together up on top. And here's a triangle offense. They feed the wing and hit the post, and both the corner and the wing cut through, and the wing sets a weak side screen coming around. Offensive fouls were called much more prevalently, and here you'll see Jerry Sloan go to the basket and knock over the Warrior player for a charge. I want to introduce you to a great player from back then that not many people know about. Here's classic triangle again, and Chet the Jet Walker is going to come across. While this is the end of his career, he helped the Bulls become a very tough team during this time. And check out a young, movie star looking Jerry Sloan. And here's a really old play from way back in the day where the point guard will pass to the wing and then get it right back on a handoff. And to show you how similar the Bulls are, on the very next play, Norm Van Lier will do the same exact thing. I'm not a fan of it spacing-wise, but it did work pretty well for them and they would get good shots. And again, these teams are very similar because the Bulls are going to run the UCLA high post all the way through. There's the UCLA cut and they screen down for the guard. There's a backdoor cut beautifully and they get a goaltending call. People forget that one of the all-time great scorers in the NBA was Rick Barry. Here he can do a catch and shoot off of a turn and just nail that jumper. Great shot. And people also forget a tough little guard for the Bulls named Norm Van Lier, who was sort of a poor man's Clyde Frazier. He had great quick hands, could get steals, and would push the ball up and hit a guy perfectly for jump shots. Again, watch the tenacious D as Norm Van Lier comes across and blocks this shot, gets the ball back on an outlet pass, and again is going to feed Jerry Sloan for a beautiful little jump shot. One of the storylines of the series was the Bulls benching their longtime starter Nate Thurmond at center and starting Tom Boerwinkle. He was a much better passer out of the post, and the offense seemed to click a lot better. And check out this great little off 1 foot sky hook he shoots. They used to shoot this all the time, and I wish they'd shoot it more nowadays. And check out this silky smooth rookie named Keith Wilkes. You might remember him better as Jamal Wilkes when he played later for the Lakers and won championships. You might remember him better with that kind of corkscrew jump shot he released over his head. And the Bulls got tons of action feeding the high post and then splitting in front of it. Here they're getting a beautiful backdoor for a layup for Norm Van Lier. Normally in Game 7s, if one team takes control early, that's usually it. And here the Bulls have a 13-point lead in the second quarter. And here's how the Bulls were doing it. Beautiful team offense, feed the post, split off of it with a screen, and there's Jerry Sloan hitting another jumper. With time winding down in the first half, Keith Wilkes is going to go to the basket, not get that shot off in time, and the Bulls have an 11-point lead going into the half. In the third quarter, the game changed for the Bulls. Here you'll see Norm Van Lier take a handoff and drive hard. He throws his right arm a little bit, and Daryl Garrettson calls an offensive foul. Well, Norm Van Lier takes exception to this and starts to complain. He doesn't notice that he was subbed in for by Jerry Sloan. So here comes Sloan's going to rush in and tell him to get off the court. Well, the game's already in play, so naturally it's a technical foul because the Bulls had 6 players on the court at the same time. Van Lier and Coach Dick Motta wanted to argue that the horn never sounded to signal a substitution, but to no avail, and the Warriors get to shoot a free throw technical foul. Again, look how closely they call the offensive charge. Here comes Bob Love driving to the basket. Very little contact, yet that's a charge. No basket. Out of a timeout, they call a back screen from the Warriors, and look how bad the communication is as Bob Love gets back screened and can't get around to stop that layup. The Warriors got back into this game by scoring more consistently, even though many of their shots were against tough Bull defense. While the Bulls continued to run their high post offense, they hit a drought when Tom Boerwinkle started shooting a lot more than he should have. The Bulls may have had a false sense of security with a 10-point lead because Rick Barry was shooting so poorly, but that wouldn't last. Again, they do another high post split, and there's a reason why Tom Boerwinkle is so wide open. They want him to shoot that shot. Another long-forgotten player that was pretty good back then was Jeff Mullins. Tough, great shooter, and Jerry Sloan loses him for a second and he gets open for the shot. Again, watch this charging call. There's no way that'd be called a charge in this day and age. So the game is getting a little bit tighter, and guess what? Rick Barry is going to start to catch on fire. Watch this tough shot in the face of a Bull defender. And after another Bulls miss, here comes Rick Barry again with a catch and shoot, very tough with the defender in his face. And in this low-scoring game, the Warriors finally tie it up with under 7 minutes to go. A simple screen and roll for Rick Barry forces a switch, and now Tom Boerwinkle is going to have to guard Barry. They don't try and switch back, which is a mistake, and there's Barry just janging it up in Boerwinkle's face. And here's Phil Smith, a lightning-quick guard for the Warriors. Jerry Sloan cannot keep up with him, and he hit a number of jump shots in the fourth quarter. Most individual moves back then started with a dribble. There were no shot fakes or jab steps. And here Rick Barry puts the ball on the ground and just pulls up for a little jumper on the baseline. With the Bulls down 2 and desperately trying to stay in the game, here comes Boerwinkle out of nowhere for that great block, and the Bulls get the ball back. Here's a cool little coaching detail from back then. They didn't have those whiteboards and the markers and erasers. They had yellow pads and pens. Here Al Attles is trying to design a double screen on the weak side for Rick Barry. The downfall of the Bulls was their shooting percentage in the fourth quarter as they went ice cold and then couldn't stop Golden State either. So the Warriors run a weak side screen for Rick Barry coming around, and Bob Love is going to let himself get stuck in that screen. He should have gone underneath. Well, Boerwinkle has to come over to look, and that leaves his man wide open for the basket on a nice pass from Rick Barry. And in the end, we get to see Rick Barry ice the game with his patented two-hand underhand free throw style, which led the NBA for career percentage for a long time, and now he's 6th. So there you have it, sports fans. Some really exciting stuff coming up. And boy, that was a big disappointment for most Bulls fans growing up during that time. But I suppose it was well worth the wait as Michael Jordan and company finally took hold of the league and dominated for much of the 90s. But don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, it's not a channel, it's a conversation. You in?